Hi everyone, and welcome back to BBC. I am, over the past few times that I've done my part of the BBC while Venerable's been away, I've been sharing with you a list that I put together that I gave to her that are kind of preliminary insights and understandings that I've garnered over the 14-year relationship that I've had to my spiritual teacher, Venerable Children. And so I listed them, and it was very helpful for me to list them to myself personally and then also to share them with her. And then she promptly gave it back to me and said to share it with you. So I'm doing that. So now we're on number 7. In India, I got a tiny taste of how many sentient beings Bodhicitta is actually referring to. So this incredible, vast mind that wishes to benefit every living being without exception, no matter who, what, where they are, how they treat us, how they behave, to benefit them in as best way possible, and then to think about, well, if I'm going to do this as skillfully and as perfectly as I want to, I have to become awakened to do that. So it's this really incredible mind, and ever since the very first time that I met Venerable, I have heard this name, I've heard this word. This is how she sets all the motivations for all the teachings that she gives. There's a dedication prayer that wishes for this mind to arise in each and every living being. And so I've had a journey with this from the very, very beginning. And to say that I have any deep experiential understanding of it would be certainly a wrong conception. But I have certain experiences with it that I want to share, including the one that I had when I recently went to India. First of all, I think that the part, because it's so big, I mean every living being, which I think is outrageous and almost incomprehensible on some level. So when I first started hearing about Bodhicitta, I never thought in a billion years that I would be one of those people who could generate this mind. But Venerable keeps on, and one of the things that helped me to let go of that unattainable thinking was that when we did the Bodhisattva grounds and paths, to realize that only beings who are entering the first ground, the path of accumulation, who have spontaneous bodhicitta. So we're talking about having to create the cause and conditions for this for a very, very, very long time. And once you do, you're on the first bhumi, which is so exciting. So I'm giving myself a little bit of slack that I'm, being content to create the causes right now, and someday I will be able to, as soon as I see evidently bodhisattvas, spontaneous bodhicitta is every time they come in contact with, every time that they have a thought of a living being, this incredible wish, commitment, aspiration to become awakened solely for that benefit, to be able to help them, rises spontaneously in almost all of their thinking and all of their contact with other living beings, which is a beautiful, beautiful thought. Conceptual as it is, it's a beautiful thought. Then I kind of, as the years have gone on, when I think about bodhicitta, I have this it's a kind of a magnanimous thought, but it's very vague. It's like sentient beings is a kind of this vague, huge field of all these little heads and all these little bodies extending out to the realms of beyond space, but I can't see anybody. I don't know anybody. They're kind of out there in this vague sort of morphed form. And I say, I'm going to benefit you someday. I hope to become a Buddha, whoever you are out there. And then continue with thinking about it. And, when Venerable talks about this mind, she says it with so much enthusiasm, with so much confidence that each and every one of us are creating the causes and conditions to do this, even to think for a moment of the possibility. And then, as time goes on, kind of interspersed with this magnanimous, vague kind of bodhicitta, is that I'm an extremely visual person. Most of my conceptual thinking is in pictures. It's not in words and dialogue, it's in pictures. And sometimes I connect with, in my imagination, just setting up faces of beings, animal beings, human beings. What would hungry ghosts, because they have very specific descriptions of hungry ghosts. You know, I can really zone in. I have a very strong heart connection with hungry ghosts. For some, I feel very connected to them. So I put them into these very strong visual images. Hell beings, I'm a little bit not so clear about them. Gods and demigods, I put the most beautiful version of beauty in our world and just kind of expand that. And when I have these visual mental images that I put in front of my face and in front of my inner face, my inner mind, I can make a little bit more of a stronger connection on how much I want to connect to them and how much I want to help them. Because these pictures sort of elicit in me a sense of connectedness, a connectedness of thinking, they have been my mother since beginningless time, and I don't know where they are right now. Even though I'm conjuring them up, there's some version of these sentient beings that have been my mother. They could be suffering terribly in the hell realms. They could be suffering terribly in the hungry ghost realm. They could be totally blissed out in the God realms right now. And I don't know who they are. And I really want to have a sense of reconnecting with them someday and knowing who they have been all of my lives. So it kind of generates this wanting to stay connected and wanting to have the capacity to know who they are and to understand their suffering. So at times when I can put that together, I have a very, there's like this heart movement, and there's this softening in my heart, and my heart gets a little bit bigger than normal. And then when I went to India, it was an extremely visual, overwhelming experience, because there is absolutely no place except in your hotel room at night where you are not in the middle of a milieu of sentient beings. I mean, they're everywhere, and they're packed, and their faces are right in front of you all day long, all different sizes, all different faces that are quite gaunt, ones that are a little bit more flushed out, the clothing that they're wearing, what they're doing for a living, how they approach you. I mean, and then there's the animals, the dogs and the oxen and the pigs and the goats. You're continually in the presence of sentient beings, and not in just sort of a scattered sort of way. You're in it like compressed, your body touching, you're moving in sort of synchronicity, this kind of chaotic synchronicity with them all day long. And in the first week that I was there, I was emotionally overwhelmed by the visual input of having that many sentient beings with me all day long. And even traveling in a bus where we had 20 people all day long sitting next to each other, I started, so instead of being overwhelmed, I said, well, what can I do with this mind? Rather than saying, oh my gosh, what do I do, what do I do, is saying, these are the beings that you are becoming awakened for. These are, and this is just a small fraction of the endless amount, but kind of get an idea, Semke, of how much limitless really means. As you look over this busy street in Varanasi, as you look over the Ganges, you know, in the evening, or you look over Bodh Gaya with all of the robes and the different colors, or you look out on these busy streets as the bus is passing through these little towns. This is the sense of how limitlessness can feel like in the mind. And to hold that as, you can do this. And you're having contact with that sense of limitlessness even now in this very life in a small way. And wouldn't it be incredible for you to be able to benefit each and every one of them? As I'm looking out the buses we're going by, each and every one of those, to know exactly what you would need to do. Exactly the skillfulness, the right speech, the right relationship to have with each and every one of them, so that you could really benefit them. And so it brought my mind out of the overwhelm, and it brought my mind in this kind of tenderness, this kind of, tenderness on, they have all been your mother too, and this is a lot of beings, and this is, you know, who you are practicing for, now and in all future lives. And don't ever turn your back on them. Don't ever turn away from them as much as you can, because they really do depend on you. And you depend on them, because without their presence in your life, there's no capacity to practice. There's no wanting to benefit if you don't have them in your life. So consider yourself fortunate, Semke, that you have this experience, and really take it on to the path.